Hey guys, welcome to podcast GK Tech Pros. We are today talking about the ownership in the digital age. We have a few different discussions regarding tech and ownership in the age that we're in today. Um, the first thing I want to know your thoughts, John. Um, I want to start off asking you about Xbox. I hear
Okay.
some rumors about Xbox and how they might be kind of seems like they're going to ditch the Xbox eventually. And what are your thoughts on that?
So rumors are flying around right now that
Yeah,
Xbox is going to get out of the console game. Now, some of this speculation started actually a few months ago when the Xbox CEO Phil Spencer came out and said that Xbox is in third place basically when it came to the console wars and that they lost the console wars.
that's fair.
Yeah, so Nintendo's outsold them. PlayStation has outsold them. Um, but Xbox is and Microsoft, they're going out and they're attacking this differently. So Phil Spencer today, and today is Monday, February 12th, when this is being recorded. But news came out today that Phil Spencer told employees that Xbox is going to continue to make consoles. I don't think that's going to be the case, and I think on this podcast several months ago, I looked at what Microsoft was doing with the Xbox, and I said that I wouldn't be surprised if 10 years from now, Xbox the console didn't exist, and what you would have is Xbox the gaming service. The writing's on the wall. And you just have to look at the things that Microsoft is doing. Forget what they're saying. Just look at what they're doing. They have been going out of their way to purchase gaming companies. Um, a lot of people say, well, that's for exclusives and whatnot, and that's certainly true. But Xbox has done a lot of things recently. Of course, the big thing recently has been the Activision acquisition. Um, but look at the behavior of the Xbox. Um, the fact that right now Xbox is more than just the console itself. If you have a gaming PC, you could have the Xbox app on your gaming PC and be playing games through the application. And I think that's the direction that Xbox wants to go. Is just that they're going to acquire a whole bunch of different gaming companies, and they're going to have their own service. Netflix has shows and movies. Xbox is going to have games, and they are going to try to essentially outdo Steam, and they're going to uh, get a whole bunch of exclusives that they can put on. It's a monthly service that you can pay for. You could also buy games. You can put the application on, a console if they still offer consoles, but you can have the app on your computer. I think in the future there's going to be that app is going to be able to be downloaded onto all sorts of different portable devices. We're starting to see a surge in portable gaming. Like the Steam Deck has, is relatively popular. There's competition for that. So that's gained some interest and intrigue. I think Xbox would love to be able to put an app onto one of those devices so you can play games. Um, that's just, I think, the writing on the wall. And the thing is the Xbox, the consoles don't actually make, they don't make money. Uh, Microsoft does not sell those to make a profit. They don't make money off of Xboxes, the consoles. Microsoft makes money off of people buying games and subscribing to
Their
the Xbox
services.
Game Pass. Right, that's where they make their money. They will happily sell Xboxes at a loss if it means getting $20 to $30 from you a month.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's that's worth it to them. and
Interesting.
so they need to acquire more people to be a part of the service.
So, I, you know, I want to get your feelings on it in a moment. I'm not sure how I feel about this, and I'm not. I can't say I'm a big fan of Microsoft's software in general.
Mm-hmm,
But before I get your feelings on it, because I know you have some, I
mm-hmm,
will say that it kind of sounds like what I wish Google would do. Just get out of the hardware game, and
right,
I like
yeah,
Google software. So, so
mm-hmm,
just sell your Android services, your software, on other platforms, the other devices that are far superior to
mm-hmm.
yours.
Right.
This is where this would be a great cue for a for
Right. Well, I mean, on the Google side, right, is this Google offers Android for free for
yeah,
whoever wants it. It's
right.
everyone
Just
else
get out of the
that's
way, get out of the hardware game, and put your
we'll get out of the hardware game, yeah, but that's a message to Samsung and OnePlus and anyone else that makes Android phones to stop molesting Android software and putting their own crap on it. But that's not the point of the question. Back to Xbox. When you and I were talking about it earlier, and I said that my prediction is that in probably 10 years' time, Xbox is going to be a service, and you won't be able to buy an Xbox console. You said sad.
yeah,
I think, and I would both agree and disagree.
yeah,
So
with nostalgia, of course. Yeah.
right, so I wasn't an adopter of Xbox really until the Xbox 360 came out. I had a PlayStation 2. I got a PlayStation 2 instead of the original Xbox when I got a console back in the day. When the Xbox 360 came out at around the same time as the PlayStation 3, I was able to get my hands on an Xbox 360 before I could get my hands on the PlayStation 3, and that machine just blew me away. I put so many hours into Call of Duty 2, and that game just blew me away, just graphically.
Hmm.
And not only that, but Xbox Live was so superior to any online offering from PlayStation at the
Hmm.
time. And since the Xbox 360, I've really been an Xbox guy. I've still owned PlayStations, but I've really been more of an Xbox guy up until recently. Um,
PS5.
ended up well, so 2020 happened, and it was so hard to get your hands on an Xbox, Series X or a PlayStation,
Yeah, and we had a buddy that
PS5, right?
struggled.
Right. So you and I were probably out looking to score an Xbox, and just so happened to have a friend who was selling PlayStations, and so
He
we
might hear
jumped
this.
on.
He's a subscriber.
He
If we could
is,
name
yeah,
him. Thanks,
yeah,
Eric.
yeah. Eric, you're doing God's work, but but thanks to our buddy Eric, we were able to acquire PlayStation 5s when they were so hard to get at the time. And it was impossible to find either PlayStation 5s or Xbox Series X's at the time. So um, it was a crazy time. But anyway, but but now with the whole Xbox on computer thing, and it's I pay for the service. So I have access to all sorts of different games on it. But the cool thing about being able to be with the services, I got a kid who's into Pal World, and Pal World's on Xbox. It's also on Steam. Um, but on Xbox, I'm able to put the game on my Xbox and also put the game on my computer, and I can
Yeah.
join her world. That's really really cool. And so she's been playing on the Xbox, and I'm playing on my computer. She also has a gaming computer that has the game on it as well. So sometimes she's in on her computer. Um, but I can't do that with the PlayStation games. We have the one PlayStation,
Mm.
as opposed to essentially three different Xboxes in the house right now. Um, so I think the service certainly has its pros, and so while I'm kind of sad to eventually see the Xbox console get phased out. I'm super excited to be able to see what uh, Xbox games look like running through my gaming computer, which is way more expensive than an Xbox console and is way higher spec than an Xbox console. The downside to consoles in general is, um, these are designed 5, 6, 7 years before they're actually launched, and so when consoles are launched into the public, they're already running hardware that's 2 years old at that point. So you're not going to get necessarily the latest or have the highest frame rates and details in texture and whatnot. I can tell you that running like a game like Red Dead Redemption looks way better on my computer versus running it through a console. Now that's an older game, but even with a newer game, like a Pal World, which isn't that big of a game, um, or Call of Duty, is going to look a lot better on my gaming computer versus a console. And so if I can get an Xbox exclusive to play on my gaming computer and get that benefit because my computer is it's pretty well spec'd, that's just going to increase the experience for me. It's going to be a better experience. So um, I don't think Xbox is wrong by heading in the current direction that it's going in. Um, but as a segue to the other thing that you and I were going to talk about too is this puts into question about ownership and game ownership. So when you're paying for a service,
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of different. My mind goes in a lot of different directions um, with things that could happen with this.
hmm.
Um, it, I have a lot of concerns. One thing I'm wondering, another little bit of a rabbit hole, is if PlayStation, you said Xbox is not making its money on the console. What about PlayStation? Does it have a different model, or do you think it's the same kind of thing?
I'm fairly positive. So PlayStation Sony is just now starting to get onto the PC bandwagon. Hellriders 2 is, I believe, a Sony game. Um, and so you can get that game on PlayStation. You can also get it through like Steam. But the thing with Sony as well is they make money off of selling games and also selling, PlayStation, was it PlayStation
Right.
Plus? So it's also service based. That's
So
how they're making money.
kind of trying to visualize how this is going to end up if they. I mean, we're way ahead of ourselves, I suppose. But
So
is
can I
if
can I
they
give
have,
you can I give you another example of this
yeah,
practice? Okay, um, so I way back in the day, I used to work for Staples. I also worked for Best Buy for a bit. Um, so if you go to anywhere and buy a printer, um, whether it's from HP or Canon, brother, when you buy that printer off the shelf, that company's lost money. HP does not sell printers to make money off them. They sell those printers at a loss. What they want you to do is they want to get an affordable price because where they make their money is on ink. That's where they make their money. This is why HP is so anti-consumer with their ink practices, and why they have chips, like serialized chips, on the cartridges of ink to prove authenticity. Because if you try to put a non HP genuine ink cartridge into a HP printer, it throws up red flags and you can't use it. Um, HP makes their money off of ink sales because they know that you'll have to come back. It's a residual income for them because like food, they know that you're going to run out. Um, so so console companies are operating basically under the same assumption is that they're gonna essentially make consoles and sell them either at or a little bit lower than cost, because they know that, especially in Xbox's case, they really throw down the Xbox Game Pass at you. They want you to sign up for that service because it's a residual income. They want to get money for, if you know. Do you want to $100 profit on an Xbox, or would you rather your clientele pay you $20 a month for the next 10 years, 15 years? What kind of profit is that going to be? So I just thought I'd throw that at you as far as the
Yeah.
practice.
I'm wondering if PlayStation, what they'll do if the Xbox disappeared, if that creates an opportunity for them or not.
Well, I would imagine it would give them an opportunity. At the same time, you know, there's there's the Nintendo aspect too.
Mm.
It's weird because both of them operate in different spaces, right?
Yeah.
Like they're both gaming. The PlayStation and the Nintendo Switch are both consoles, um, but how both companies do business and even the game selections between the two are so different. Um, we're not here to rant about Nintendo, but I'd love to dedicate an episode to ranting about Nintendo. Um,
Yeah, that is a rabbit hole for sure.
that, yeah,
Never
it's
ending one.
yeah, yeah. Nintendo to me has been like 20 years, or yeah, about 20, 25 years of disappointment to me.
Hmm.
Um, but like I
Yeah,
said, it's
ever since that first console that was so sweet, right?
well, you're gonna get me to go on this. That's okay. I look, that was my first console. I think it was
Yeah, me
everybody. It
too.
was almost everybody's first console, right?
Yeah.
So, growing up, the first console that we got when I was a kid was the Super Nintendo. Before that, my experience to gaming was I had a Commodore 64, but I had a daycare that I went to when I was really little. We're talking like 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. And at that daycare there was an NES, and so I'm very familiar with the NES. I was so excited when we got a SNES. And then in like 90, I think it was 96, we got the Nintendo 64, and my God, that was just so mind blowing to 11-year-old me, seeing 3D games. We're talking like Mario 64, um, Ocarina of Time, Banjo and Kazooie. Um, Gosh, what a whole bunch of games. I'm a big baseball nut, so Ken Griffey had a couple games on there. Uh, it, it was a hell of a system. Spent hours upon hours upon hours playing Nintendo 64. I probably put more hours into Nintendo 64 than I put into the Xbox 360, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X
Mm.
combined. But Nintendo has just like refused to grow up with me, and so when I wasn't 11 anymore and I was, you know, 17, and PlayStation 2 and Xbox are out, and they're offering games like Halo. Um, but Nintendo wants to stick with. They went from like an adult version of, well, like a kid and adult version of like their Zelda games. So you had like Ocarina of Time and then Majora's Mask. And then to go to the next Zelda thing, which a lot of people liked, but it was like this cartoony version of Kid Zelda. To me, it was like a kiddie game. It was not interesting at all compared to what Xbox and PlayStation 2 had to offer. And Nintendo has gone from like trailblazing to like always two steps behind when it comes to everyone else, when it comes to what their systems can do, graphically, or what their games really demand. And I know a lot of people point to how crazy the latest Zelda game is and how well it runs, considering how bad the Nintendo Switch hardware is. And good for the Zelda creators, but um, the Nintendo just has not grown up. They have abandoned me as a gamer to focus on my kids. And the biggest problem that I see with them right now is my kids don't ask about Nintendo at all.
Mm.
So I don't know how Nintendo's doing so well, because
Mm.
Nintendo has lost me as a gamer, as a consumer, um, and my kids. So I
Playing
have
Pow, Pow World.
well, so I have a 2 year old, and he plays Forza.
Okay.
And my 7 year old, who's going to be 8 shortly, she is obsessed with Minecraft, and she's obsessed with Power World, which really is probably grinding the gears of Nintendo execs right now.
Oh.
But the thing is I own a Nintendo Switch, right? So Nintendo got me, right? Except the fact that I'm not buying any games for it. I'm not spending any money on a service for them. Um, so they could have had me, and my kids know that we have a Nintendo Switch. Neither of them play it. The whole reason why I have a Nintendo Switch is because I was hoping that they would get into Mario Kart. Because
Mm.
I was
Yeah,
really into, so I
me
was
too.
really
Yeah,
right. So
yeah.
yeah,
We
I was
have we have the Wii.
okay.
That's the
Yeah.
last console I bought, and we that's what we do is with Mario Kart.
Mm-hmm.
We've bought a few Wii's, so that's we just replace the Wii, stick with that.
Yeah.
So
And I totally get it. I had a Wii once too, and I think I bought a total of 5 games for it. I think I bought like Smash Brothers, Mario Kart, and then we had
oh,
like the sports game, and that was it. That was the only intrigue I had with that system. Never got a Wii U. Got the Switch shortly after one of the kids was born, I believe. And because I was really into Mario Kart, I'd hope they would get into Mario Kart. My son probably could still get into Mario Kart because he's into cars, but he's playing Forza on Xbox. He's not
that's
playing
a little
Mario
better.
Kart, right? Uh, and my daughter, sometimes she's just like, "What about that Mario game?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, you can play it. Go grab the Nintendo." And she's like, "What's that?" That should speak volumes for Nintendo right now. That my 7 year old has no
What's
idea what the hell Nintendo is, and
interesting?
so I question it. Am I the only person who's like this? Because I know I'm not the only dad around.
No.
Um, have other gamers left Nintendo behind in favor of uh, more games that cater to them and their ages? And are your kids interested in Nintendo games, or are they, seeing what you're playing on? They see you on the Xbox or the PlayStation or on your computer. Are they going to be into Forza and Power World? Like, because that's what my kids are into. They're Nintendo age right now, and neither of them neither of them care about Nintendo. They could not tell you what Nintendo is. They both love the Super Mario movie, have no idea that that's based off of a game. so, um, yeah, so, uh, you know, 10 years from now, is Nintendo gonna, what is Nintendo gonna be in 10 years and in 20 years? I don't know. Um,
Hmm.
so that's the light version of my rage against Nintendo.
We might need to change the title of this podcast to
To fuck
forecasting
it. It's
consoles.
just forecasting
So,
get the gaming future. So
yeah.
goodbye Xbox consoles, but not Xbox itself, and then just sayonara to Nintendo. and
Mhm.
probably good riddance at this point. But seriously, though, Nintendo really bothers me with not just not growing up with me as the gamer that was so invested in them back in the 90s, but also because they come out with consoles that are just turd buckets. Like, I do not care about the Nintendo Switch at all. It does nothing for me. And the fact that they come out with the Nintendo Switch, and I believe it was like the first console that they have that could output in 1080p, which is something that the 360 could do back in like 2005. I mean, what are you doing, Nintendo? You're not wowing me. I'm an aesthetics guy. I want to be wowed with the visuals. I know some people were really wowed with I think it was Breath of the Wild, the Zelda game. I've played some Switch games. I'm not wowed at all with the graphics. To me, it looks like games that were made 10, 15 years ago. Um, Congratulations. It's a small device that can output in 1080p. That's great. I have 4K televisions. My PlayStation and my Xbox and my computer can all output into 4K and in some cases 8K when we're talking about my computer, though that's
So,
neither here nor there. But
so I've got a podcast poll. Um,
okay.
so I want to hear from anyone that's listening. We've kind of given our opinion. What consoles should go, or what consoles should go away? What companies should remain or go away? I think that's a good poll. And something I think we might discuss in the future, maybe a future podcast. Maybe we'll give some ratings to different companies. What we were hoping our podcast was going to be about was kind of companies and tech and ownership of things, and can we own things in a digital age and that kind of thing. And I
Mm-hmm.
think maybe we'll put it off for a future podcast, but we can kind of rate companies on this too. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but this might help us get to that topic a little bit more than it has been. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Before the podcast, you were mentioning something about uh, Ubisoft and an
Yeah,
executive.
Ubisoft.
Yeah, tell me
So
what they were
so
saying.
so so Ubisoft. I want to say it was a few weeks ago at this point, but one of the execs at Ubisoft, uh, I believe the quote was "Get comfortable not owning games." Um, yeah,
Yeah,
and again,
that's
this goes with the whole gaming services, and yeah, I have thoughts on that.
yeah. I hope
Um,
it's not just us. I hope that negatively impacts the rest of you because I'm not
so
cool with that. I don't know about you guys.
so the thing is, I hope that we can do both, right?
Hmm.
At least choose. I think choice is a good thing, right? Because I talked about the Xbox service and how it's great that I can be able to put a game onto, basically three different computers in my house, right? So with the service, I can play with my kid and whatnot, and we have access to a whole library of games, right? Um, at the same time, I want to be able to own my game as well if I so choose, right? So if I want to spend $30 on Pal World, I feel like I should be able to do that and own it, and
Yeah, without
when
it just
I
disappearing anytime.
without it without it disappearing, because the big concern that I have is you know I feel like if I buy a game, I first should be able to download it. It shouldn't be like, unless it's like this game will only work online because it's an online type of game. I feel like I should be able to download it onto my computer and play it whenever I want. Um, but the other issue is what's to stop that's if that service goes defunct, or what's to stop that service from preventing me from downloading that game in the future, right? So if I purchase Pal World today, um, for $30 and I download it on my computer, but 5 years from now I upgrade my computer, or something happens and I lose the files, maybe they get corrupted or whatever, and I need to re-download the game, the Xbox is like, I'm sorry, we don't offer this game anymore. Well,
Mhm.
I paid $30 to own the game. Where's my game? Right?
Mhm.
So, and this is where, you know, Ubisoft is like, well, get comfortable not owning games because everyone wants to go to the service, subscription based services. Origin, which is I think they're a distributor for EA games, they're going to stop. They're going to go digital only versus physical games. Um, yeah, I don't think it's a good. This is good. Um,
Yeah, it's not a good concept, not a good look on Ubisoft.
it's not a good. Well, anytime any company comes out and they're like, "We'll just get
Just sit
used to
down.
not look get used to giving us money and
Oh,
us giving you
getting
nothing in
nothing.
return."
Yeah.
And this goes into like the right to repair and that whole thing, which we'll probably at this point save for another
Yeah, I'm
conversation.
looking at our list and I'm thinking we'll probably not get to a lot of this, but
Probably not get to that, but on the game side, yeah, if I give Microsoft money, $30 for Pal World, or if I go to Steam and buy a game for X amount of dollars, um, I feel like I should own that game and forever, and either they ensure that I have access to download that game whenever I need to, or give me some sort of way where I can easily uh, put that game into some sort of physical copy, right? Um, I think it's 2024. It's ridiculous for me to demand that I be able to burn a Blu-ray or a DVD, right, for these games, physical games. But if they had it where it was a very easy option to download the game onto a thumb drive, um, I think that would be great. And I get the whole piracy issues and what's to stop me from selling, from taking my $30 purchase of Pal World and then downloading a copy onto 45 different thumb drives and then just handing those thumb drives to my friends so they can put it on their computers. So I kind of I get the piracy, but there's ways around that too. Um, I feel like uh, companies are just they're slowly getting people to just come to the acceptance that ownership is just no longer going to be a thing, and that we're just gonna be okay with them giving it to
temporary
us up the butt,
contracts.
right? Temporary contracts, right? Just just a indefinite us giving them money for whatever reason. Um, yeah, it's not good. It's not just in games. This is everywhere else. The part of our talking point was going to be in the right to repair, and we were going to talk about like Hyundai and they'll sell you a Ionic 5 for $55,000, but if you run over a lumber and you need a new battery, it's $60,000 for the battery plus labor. Uh, that's that's just crazy. We were going to talk a little bit about Samsung and people saying, "Hey, because Samsung Galaxy AI is a new thing. Is Samsung going to charge us in the future to be able to use that technology?" And they said, "No, sort of. It's yours to
So, yeah,
use for
we're
2 years
committed
for
to two
free.
years
We're
for
committed to two
free.
years for free." And which to me sounds like that's a weirdly specific number, 2 years, which sounds like a 2 year contract kind of. It goes along the lines with the 2 year contract. So when you're up for a new phone and you want to use the AI features, well, you better get yourself a new phone. So that it just becomes another residual income for them. So
Yeah, I mean the AI thing has turned some heads, and the Galaxy AI is pretty cool. It uses Gemini, Google, and so um, and I do have a slight defense to for Samsung, but I would say that yeah, that's concerning to your thing, and it's trying to just stomach it. it's, it's they have already kind of they're tying it to the Qualcomm processors, and that's there's a lot of truth to that, but that's also concerning because if you have a legitimate reason, that's only I was asking you before this podcast, how would they pull that off? To not to suddenly not allowing this kind of thing, and I don't think they really could necessarily end all services on your current phone. That sounds far fetched, but I would say that it sounds like they're tying in these features to 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 the processor. So they're going to probably tell you, I kind of see them in the future, 2 years, let's say, to 2025 or whatever it is, 2026 or something, um,
Mm-hmm.
coming out with the new phone and saying, we have all these new AI features. Um, some of those features you're only going to get on new processors, and maybe some of these old features as well have gotten more improved. We've improved some of these AI features, and we're no longer offering the older services, which, again, all of this sounds plausible and scary. Where my
Mm-hmm.
defense would come for Samsung would be there's some talk about the third party aspect of that. And it's true that like Samsung is not they partner with Google. They are not Google.
Mm-hmm.
So it's realistic to say, hey, if some of our features are coming from Gemini or from Google, we can't indefinitely secure rights to that for our customers. That's not really a, a fair ask from consumers to say, hey, I deserve these AI features. Um, I mean, they do. Don't get me wrong, but
Mm-hmm.
if something happens to Google, I mean, who knows? So it's outside of Samsung's control a little bit, I would say.
Yeah. My only defense for it versus like the car battery issue uh, is a lot of what we're talking about is services, right? So whether it's Galaxy AI and new features coming out and improvements being made constantly, right? To paying for Xbox Live and constantly getting new access to games, to Netflix as well. All this new stuff, eventually it's all going to be AI that's creating all this content for us, and we're just not going to need people to do any creation anymore. But before then, all of this improvement has to come from somewhere. It's somebody's R&D department. Those teams need money, right? And so the services pay for that. Unlike the battery deal, that's a fixed cost. Um, you and I talked about BMW and how like BMW was going to make it so they could turn off your heated seats feature if you don't pay their like $20 a month BMW fee. Like the heated seats are already in the car. Like that's not somebody in some service center that needs to get paid, to be able to turn on your heated seats, right? Um, so, um, I get why when it comes to certain services, yeah, why something wouldn't be free indefinitely, but at the same time, as we're paying not $300 for smartphones like we were, you know, a decade ago, we're paying $1,300 for these phones. You would think that a lot of the R and D costs would be part of that cost because,
Mm-hmm.
I saw a thing recently on Apple. Apple. To actually produce an iPhone at the factory, it costs them like $10 to make an iPhone. Right, but they sell it to you for $1,000 or $1,300. So where's that all that profit money go? Well, um, the factory process might be $10 to $10 of material and labor to build a single iPhone, right? And they can build thousands of iPhones per day at these factories. Um, but a lot of that has to go into the R&D, right? The research and development. And so, Apple is constantly investing billions of dollars into research and development. Somebody's got to pay, the Apple engineers. So where's that money coming from? Well, it's that's why they're charging an astronomical amount of money for these devices.
Hmm.
At the same time, I think that, like I said a decade ago, iPhones weren't $1,300; they were three, four, $500, and so inflation has gone up, but it hasn't gone up quite like that. Manufacturing processes have gotten better, not
Hmm.
worse, over the last decade. So you would think that um, these features that we're getting should be included in the device for whatever the average life for whatever the lifespan of that device should be, right? Which most companies right now are saying end of life is at 6 years, 7 years. So I think that would be more appropriate. But you know, Samsung says no. Your S24, its end of life in 7 years, but you're only good for 2 years worth of these services.
Yeah, that is an interesting point. I almost brought that up. The 7 point of the 7 year, it's like a guarantee there for updates and things. So
Right,
that's interesting. It's
but
kind
they're
of a
only
contrast there.
but right because it's like, well, all right, so we'll cover security, right? So you can have half functionality of your phone for 7 years, and full functionality for two. So you know
Hopefully that's not the case, but it is a little concerning.
it is concerning, especially because if we keep going down this road, what's to stop companies, whether it's Samsung or maybe it's a carrier who offers a specific service, to just be like, okay, well, on your S30, it's got a cool camera feature, but we're just going to shut it off after 2 years, and
Yeah,
and you
it's
can no longer take AI images of the moon.
uh, yeah.
Um,
You can only take 5 megapixel pictures and no editing or
and no, right, no editing, nothing after once you own the device for 2 years or whatever, or or something like, so, right, so you pay your cell phone bill, but then Samsung also wants you to buy the Samsung Galaxy bill, and so now you're paying $100 a month for your cell phone plus $30 a month for your Samsung
yeah. That's
service. is that
yeah.
is that what life is going to be like in 2 years? Is that what Samsung's going to do? Oh, look, if you go ahead and upgrade to your S26, you'll get 2 years free AI services. But if you want to continue using the AI stuff on your S24 that you bought 20 years ago, it's $9.99 per month. Oh boy, uh, I really hope I'm not Nostradamus on this. You heard
Yeah,
it here.
I was
You heard it
yeah,
here first.
right.
There's gonna be Galaxy plans in the future.
And I
Samsung
mentioned
Galaxy
to you,
plans.
I'm hoping, I don't know if we have it in us to turn this into a positive conversation, but I was kind of wondering before we started the podcast what kind of things we can do as consumers. And you know, I don't think it's all negative. I think there's been so many times in history where consumers have made a positive impact and have guided some of these things when we've seen a bad dystopia in our future. and we've made corrections. You know, I kind of mentioned a bunch of health type of examples, which I don't know anything about, but you know, different times where we saw, um, you know, things in our food that we didn't like, and as consumers, we're like, okay, we got to do something about this. You know, not long ago we didn't have all these ingredient lists, and now we've made it mandatory. You know, I don't know the process of how that happened, but where we can see what's in our food now. You know, and little by little we have some progress in that field. Um, I don't have any tech examples, but go
Well,
ahead.
you could throw tobacco into that, right?
Yeah, totally. That's another huge one. A little
Yeah.
further back, but you know, we didn't know what tobacco could do. You know, and you know, eventually we did know, and but it wasn't being. And now we know it's on every all the tobacco. It shows what it can do. The
Hmm.
warning's there for us. So and everyone knows it. So that yeah, those are huge wins. There's so many more, um, and I'm sure there are some wins in the tech field. There needs to be more. I would argue. Um, and
So
as
so
tech
we're
and
well
AI
we're
becomes,
we're seeing right to repair
mm-hmm, make
become a
some
bigger
history here.
movement.
Yep.
Like every couple of months, very slowly, right to repair is getting some wins.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think right to repair only addresses a small
Small, yeah.
issue.
We
I
talked
think
about maybe changing the title right to ownership, but that's not doesn't quite ring.
right to ownership. But
Doesn't quite ring the
well,
same. But
the thing with the right to repair movement is um, it's a name that doesn't really impact you until you're the
until it
victim of
does,
something,
yeah,
right?
right.
Until you're the victim.
Uh-huh.
Whether you are the repair guy who wants to be able to repair, an HP machine or an Apple iPhone, but
Yeah.
Big Daddy Apple doesn't want you to do that,
Mm-hmm.
or you're a consumer and you are trying to get, you know, your neighbor to fix your device who
Yep.
does it for a living,
Mm-hmm.
but they can't get a part for whatever reason, because of Big Daddy Apple
Mm-hmm.
or name any other big tech company that's
Right.
preventing stuff like that, or a farming company like John Deere. So, um, but we're starting to see positive movement with right to repair, but really the issue is ownership. And um, as much as I don't like getting government involved, I do think that this is eventually going to have. I think it's going to have to go there. I think as a society, we're going to have to put our foot down and say no. Our economy runs off. We have a capitalist economy. It's all based off of goods and services, and the free exchange of money, and that's the definition of ownership is I use if you sell me something, if you say that this iPhone costs $1,300 and I give you $1,300, I own everything about that iPhone. Uh, the hardware and maybe not license, and of course the license to the software on said iPhone or Samsung or Google Pixel or whatever the case may be. But once I own it, it's on me to do whatever it is that I want to do with it. If I want to skip my iPhone down the road, I can do that. If I want to fix it myself or hire neighbor Jimmy to fix it for me, I should be able to do that. And yeah, the liability would be on me should something go wrong. Um, but if I own, I should be able to do what I want with whatever it is that I own, and
Short of
it
harming
would
another person, of course.
sure. Well, yeah, sure, right. I can own a gun as soon as I shoot somebody. It's a
Right.
problem, right, legally.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, if I buy my house, I should be able to paint it whatever color I want. Um, if I buy an iPhone, I should and I break it, I should be able to give it to whomever to fix. So, uh, but this goes beyond tech. The whole right to repair thing goes way beyond tech. This is a car, a car issue now, and it shows other flaws in other systems, right? I mean, you can look into like HOAs and how HOAs have just like unlimited power.
Hmm.
Um, and it's absolutely crazy what an HOA can do after you own your house. So, uh, yeah, I think as a society, it probably needs to start with local laws first before it gets up to, um, the federal government, which is usually of no help. But um, but yeah, I think people need to you need to get with your right to repair movement, get with your local politicians, and start expanding the language to not just repair, but to actually define what ownership should be. That's what I think. But like I said, you wanted to end this on a positive note. The positive note is that right to repair is gaining a lot of traction.
Hmm.
There's still a long way to go. There's still politicians that are gutting these bills and manipulating to the point where a lot of these right to repair bills um, just become useless, like in New York. Um, but at least people are talking about it a lot more now than they were like 4 years ago. You got anything to add to that, or can we end it there?
We can probably end it. There's things we haven't gone over, but I think like you said, well, like I was talking about, we can future podcast some of this stuff. I do want to talk about different companies, and instead of just ranting, maybe the next podcast we're going to go ahead and give some scores to some of these companies for how they're doing in regards to ownership.
Yep. So stay tuned. We're gonna rate some companies. People seem to like it when we rate companies. We've done it
Yeah,
a couple times with cell phones, and
cell
this
phone
one
too.
will go beyond just cell phones. But we'll talk about that in another future episode. I want to talk about some AI stuff. Some people seem to think AI talk is boring, but this one specifically, I think, is really interesting. It's also super terrifying. But if you're into AI and you're into Minecraft and you're into what would happen if you took AI robots and Matrix and put it all together, what would you get? We're going to talk about that. Maybe on the next one, maybe on the one after that. I don't know. We'll see. But thanks for listening.